ways we can implement futures thinking today to prepare for the new normal? What are some kind of three strong takeaways that our viewers can actually practice themselves?
Yeah, sure, John. So I'll start off with the three broad ones and give you a really specific example of how you can make those happen. And so number one, again, focus on the plausible zone. The probable zone is likely already covered by people who are doing more traditional strategy or strategic planning. The possible zone is just too wide. You might not be taken seriously or credibly if you present something that is too far out the imagination of other people in your organization. So you really want to focus on the plausible zone. That's where you can add the most value. Second, use creative ways to communicate futures emotionally. You want people to feel viscerally what it's like to be in one of those futures. And so reports are really not a good tool for this. Reports are good to create a base of options of what you might see, but you want to really use creative ways. And so that could be games, pictures, stories, just ways that people feel connected to the different possibilities out there. We used a game, I developed a game when I was at the Center for Strategic Futures, where people really felt what it was emotionally like to be present in one of those more challenging futures with a description of what their archetype or what their character was. And so people could really feel the frustration when their character, which didn't have a lot of resources to start with, wasn't able to access the opportunities no matter how hard they tried. So that motivated people to then find new solutions, new policies. So how we help people and support people today. And finally, you want to make that link between the future scenarios into what this means now for us. What actions can we take in order to get the elements that we prefer and also avoid the parts where we don't want to prefer. So those are my three big tips for how to design future. And my specifics are really, I'll show you one from the Center for Strategic Futures, which is one of the driving forces that we came up with. And the template that we use to come up with the driving force is here. And really the idea you can break down from top to bottom. So you just define the concept quite clearly and simply. Then next you give some of the signs. How do you know this shift is already happening now? What might happen in the future possibly? And what are we not sure about that we should think about a bit further? And then finally, what are the questions for discussion? And this part should help you think about how you might think about this future item now, earlier in the present. So a really specific example, and this is something that we came up with in 2015 as part of our driving forces, is really this idea of human augmentation. And so with human augmentation, then you see that that's really the concise summary and concept of what's happening now. And then you have what's happening now in where we are. So where are we now? What's really going on currently? What do we know? So what do we know about this topic? If you look at the kind of research that's happening in human augmentation, you can see that the investment in human augmentation is quite high, and the cost for some of these measures to go to are low. And then finally, if you go to the final section, which is what are we going to do next? What are some things that we don't know? Then that helps us think about, are there ethical considerations? Are there political considerations that we might want to consider? What does that mean for us now? You know the example of the Chinese scientist who experimented on CRISPR, this gene editing technology. What are the implications of something like that happening? So those are some concrete ideas in a concrete way. Actually, a lot of the driving forces that we came up with are in fact on the Center for Strategic Futures website. So you can actually download the copy and see what we came up with and use that if you want as a template for generating your own emerging strategic issues or driving forces if you'd like.